Hi again, back on the water. Still fishing the bubbles, but I want to show you a slightly different technique with buzzers now. Still using the Rio outbound floater, which I like. Still using the same 12-foot leader to the first dropper. But I use a 15-pound, although it is the reverse, quite expensive, but I use a 15-pound, and that's almost like using a tapered leader, because that part is 15 and then the rest of it is 10. So we then have a buzzer on the top dropper. We're going to have a darbach on the middle dropper, and then on the point we're going to put a big old booby. And that turns this from a floating buzzer rig into what's known as a washing line. Okay, I make these boobies up myself. This one's been well worn and well used, caught a lot of fish. All right, but it floats nice and high, and it will hold up all of this leader. So let's see how we get on. I have seen fish moving around on the top, so I know they're out there. Let's see if we can get this out there. Let's just get rid of this. One thing with all the lines I find these days is that they seem to tangle up quite quickly, like that, and then they simply fall away. But that's the nature of the beastie. So here we go. Okay, I'm just going to tighten everything up. I can see the booby sitting on the top. It might actually start to sink slightly because I've got such a long leader, and I'm using the fluorocarbon line, which is quite dense and quite heavy, so it does tend to sink everything quite quickly, and it will in due course actually be enough to sink the booby, but it will only sink it just under the surface. So all I'm doing now is I'm just giving it a few tugs now and then just let everything sit around for a while. I've seen fish moving very high in the water, actually with their backs out of the water, and they've been feeding on sedge. As the sedge emerge, they just swim along and sip them off the top of the water as they're trying to get out of their shell case. And that's why I'm using a darbach, because that's effectively like an emerging sedge. So just a couple of tugs now and then. It's a very easy, very relaxed way of fishing. You don't have to do a lot, the fish do it for you. I was using this system a couple of days ago and had 10 fish on it, so I know it works. I know it works here. It's only a question of whether the fish are going to oblige today. Probably hear it's quite windy here today. Wind's coming in from the southwest, so it's actually going across the bubble line. And where normally with no wind this boat would sit away from the bubble line, you can see it's actually sitting more or less at 45 degrees. That's the action of the current formed by the bubble line, and the action of the wind are in slightly different directions. But that's okay. Sometimes when you strip, the commotion caused by the booby on the top of the water will actually induce a strike onto the booby itself. A couple of the fish I had the other day had actually taken the booby. that's one way, is to strip every now and again. Right, the other way is to just do a little tug every second or so. That just keeps the buzzer and the darver dancing around. And then it's back. Now when you bring your line out of the water, really you'll need to look at that leader every time, because the flies will get tangled around the main line, and what you're trying to do is to get them to sit perpendicular, hanging down from the line. So if they get twisted around like that, you're effectively shortening the amount that they're hanging down. So you just need to untwist them each time. There we go. Just straighten everything up. Just leave it there for a moment. Now we're going to try and just do our little twitching it back. Just trying to keep a little bit of action in those flies. And there we go, just like that. Now, because I'm using such a long leader, that leader has to come through the rod rings. There's no reason why you need to use such a long leader. I just do it because it gives me the opportunity to change from a washing line to floater and buzzers, what you might call conventional floater and buzzers, without changing anything other than the point fly. Let's get our landing net ready. You can hear that braided loop clicking through the rod rings. It's not going to do any harm. But that's another reason why I use 15-pound line for that first part, because it does help to keep the line from fraying. There we go. Right, I'll be back in a second. I just want to release him.